Welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry. This week we've got a twofer for you. We've got two poems by Mary Oliver. John picked these out, and I'm going to read the first one, we'll discuss it, and then we have a second one, so don't go anywhere. We got a second one coming for you. All right, our first poem is called This World by Mary Oliver. I would like to write a poem about the world that has in it nothing fancy, but it seems impossible. Whatever the subject, the morning sun glimmers it. The tulip feels the heat and flaps its petals open and becomes a star. The ants bore into the peony bud, and there is a dark pinprick well of sweetness. As for the stones on the beach, forget it. Each one could be set in gold. So I tried with my eyes shut, but of course the birds were singing, and the aspen trees were shaking the sweetest music out of their leaves. And that was followed by, guess what? A momentous and beautiful silence, as comes to all of us in little earfuls, if we're not too hurried to hear it. As for spiders, how the dew hangs in their webs, even if they say nothing or seem to say nothing. So fancy is the world, who knows? Maybe they sing. So fancy is the world, who knows? Maybe the stars sing too, and the ants and the peonies and the warm stones, so happy to be where they are, on the beach, instead of being locked up in gold. All right.
What a great poem.
Yeah, there's just image after image, moment after moment going on here. For some reason, I got a very Whitman-y feel.
That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Nice. All right.
Yep.
Great minds think alike, right?
Yep.
Just a very Whitman-y.
That is exactly.
Everything around me is beautiful. Everything is a miracle. Mm-hmm. Everything is something that you need to notice, right? And I think that's why there's image after image. I really like about the fourth or fifth lines there where it says, whatever the subject, the morning sun glimmers it. I just thought that was so cool to take the word glimmer and make it a verb. Yeah. And I can picture that, I've never thought that way, but I can picture that. So what did you see in this one?
Well, again, just the beauty, right? That I immediately thought of Whitman. I'm like, oh, here it is. Here's Whitman. Mm-hmm. But I really liked as for the stones on the beach, forget it, right? And then she does that a couple times.
About it.
And that was followed by, guess what? A momentous, just that kind of very, it's an aside, but it's just so obvious.
Yeah,
right?
conversational.
Conversational. And just the spiders with the dew hanging on their webs, right? Those little things that take on a bigger sense. And that's what we keep seeing in some of the poems we've done recently, right? It's just how the poets are taking small things and making them big, or talking about size, which ties us back actually to our first poem we ever did, which was Whitman with the spider. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but the spider spinning out his webs, his silk, trying to find a place in the universe. So go back to episode 1.
Yes.
There's a nice tie in there.
Yeah. The other thing that jumped out to me was that last line, or the last two lines, right? So happy to be where they are on the beach instead of being locked up in gold. Yeah. And she said, that line you just said, the stones on the beach, forget it, each one could be set in gold. So it's almost as if, I think of making something gold plated or whatever is a human action. And she's saying...
It's supposed to add value.
Yeah, we don't need to do that, right? It would be locked up, it would be almost ruined.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to see it anymore once a person steps into nature and kind of interferes with it. Right. Right. So I thought that was a cool ending.
Yeah, just an ecstatic experience, right? When this person sees the world, it's just this ecstatic, almost overwhelming. She doesn't suggest it's overwhelming, but to me, it's almost overwhelming.
Yeah, when you take it all in this way, I mean, it's sensory overload. And she says there's a world in the first lines, a world that has in it nothing fancy. And that's exactly what she then goes on to do, right? She looks at all those little things that you wouldn't look at, or maybe enjoy as you should, I guess she's kind of saying, in her life.
She wants to write a poem where there is nothing fancy, but she can't because
impossible.
Everything is fancy.
Right, because everything is amazing. Yeah, right. I guess that's true. But still, most of us wouldn't think of these things as being fancy, right? It's just a rock on the ground, or it's just a flower.
And just the kind of humor of, I would like to write a poem in which there's nothing fancy. Right? I want to write a boring, drab poem. Right?
I guess. Why would you do that? It's like our challenge to find happy pomes. Right. And you did with this one, which is, so thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, so that's poem number 1. Now we're going to move on to another poem by Mary Oliver. Just a little bit of background here. Mary Oliver was born in 1935, so she's still around. She just published a book last year of essays. And you can actually find a video of her reading this poem. So if you don't like the way I read it, we'll put a link at the bottom of the video in the comments or in the description that you can go to watch her read it as well. Mary Oliver won the Pulitzer Prize in 1984. And this next poem is called Wild Geese. So here it goes. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
Well, I have to say, the first thing as I read this poem is just reassurance. I feel like she's trying to reassure people so the speaker feels this way. She feels, or he or she feels lonely. They feel in despair. But at the end, you have a place. You have a place in this family of things. You're not alone. You belong here. I also thought that the line, you only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. What an awesome image.
Right.
I mean, that just sums it up right there.
Right. Who thinks of their body as a soft animal?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
But we are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you touch somebody,
Yeah.
it's a soft, we're not armored, we don't have scales.
which reminds me of that poem about the ox. Remember the poem? We had the poem about the ox looking at the guy, and the
Yeah.
ox is like, puny humans. Right? You are nothing.
Yeah, you don't
Right?
get
I'm
it.
like a mountain, and you're like sticks,
like
you
an
know?
ant. Yeah, so that was the biggest thing, is just the sense of reassurance at the end, because it does seem pretty rough going through it, in those meanwhiles. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, all
But
these
I almost
things are
thought that was like a part of the comfort was, you don't have to repent, you don't have to be good. Tell me your despair and I'll tell you mine. And so while they're sharing this very human, emotional moment, the world just keeps going.
Yeah.
Right? And
Nature
it's not,
continues.
But it's not like maybe some of the other things we've looked at in the past. It's not negative. It's not impinging. Right? The world isn't trying to invade. It's just doing its thing. And I kept thinking, okay, it's called Wild Geese. Where are the geese? And I'm like, oh, the geese showed up, right?
Here they are.
And I'm a little bit confused about the geese. So it says, meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. It's just like the other ones, right? And you're like, okay, it's just part of nature.
Right.
Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. And it's like, okay, so the world offers itself to your imagination, meaning we're supposed to, or we can transform nature, right? Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting. So the world calls to us, and it's harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. So what is your place in the family of things? Like, in the end, I couldn't quite put the pieces together, because there's that dash, the first dash we
harsh
have.
and exciting.
Over
Well,
and over.
I mean, the wild geese are going home again, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're heading home again, and they're calling to you almost like, either as they fly by, like, hey, we're going home, you have a home too, and your home is right here
and
where
that's
you are now.
That's you putting your imagination on the geese, right? So
I
like
guess.
she's saying you can make the world into a symbol
If you choose to.
if you choose. It offers itself to your imagination.
Yeah, there could be a deeper meaning if you choose to see it that way.
Right.
Or it could be that you're getting the chance to go home like the geese, or with the geese, they're calling you, hey, come home.
Over and over
Something like
announcing your place in the family of things. But again, I think what we've seen in the first part of the poem was your place is you have these emotional feelings, but the world is bigger and doesn't necessarily care, but you could look to it
For comfort.
for comfort if that's where your imagination leads you. So I thought it was kind of actually ambiguous at the end.
Yeah, I agree. Because
And they're wild,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, they're
And-
not tamed. They're not
No, they're part. They're
domesticated, yeah.
other. They're separate
Right.
from you in a way.
and uncontrollable.
Yeah,
right?
harsh and exciting.
Yeah.
So it's not, harsh.
Yeah.
That's an interesting word choice there.
Which is different from the poem we just read called This World, which was so pleasant.
Right. Everything you see is drawing you in and making you feel good about yourself. And
Beautiful,
feel just
yeah.
good to be alive. And this one, you're in a very tough place at the beginning.
Yeah.
Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. So I picture these two people standing there talking, sharing the sadness, and meanwhile, all these wondrous things are happening, and the geese are flying over, almost like to pull you out of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, here we are. Come on, we're going home. You should go
yeah.
home. Kind of a thing to draw you out from your sadness.
So again, two poems by the same author, dealing with nature, but maybe in different ways, or like one seems so simple, and then the other starts to make it more complicated.
Different emotional responses to
Yeah.
nature. You know, I guess it depends on where the speaker is at the beginning. This one seems much more whimsical to this world.
Yeah.
And the second one seems much more kind of deep and sad, and she's dealing with some deep emotions there.
Yeah. So again, we just trying to start a conversation here. We obviously don't have the answer, but it's I enjoy trying to puzzle through it, right? And I do feel like there's value in that.
That's the fun of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I just had two different takes on
Yeah.
on both of these. So, well, thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.